Greetings, I'm Karen Colligan, and welcome to the Let's Talk Leadership podcast. So why do I care about leadership? As a founder of PeopleThink, and in my tenure as a leader, as a consultant, and as a coach, I've certainly seen my share of very good leaders and my share of very bad leaders. And I thought it'd be great to share the wisdom from the very good leaders. Hence the Let's Talk Leadership podcast. You're going to hear from a variety of leaders who are in a variety of roles, sharing their leadership expertise by answering the same 6 questions. Every single leader is unique in their style and approach, and we want to capture that uniqueness and provide you, the listener, with a diverse way of looking at leadership. So let's get moving and talk to our next leadership guest. In this episode, I'm thrilled to be speaking to Manish Patel, Chief Marketing Officer at CentryBay. We're going to hear all about Manish's approach to leadership. So Manish, welcome, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Karen. I'm very pleased to be here.
Great, good. So Manish, tell us a little bit about who you are and give us a snapshot of you and CentryBay before we even start our leadership conversation.
Sure. I've got a 25-year history in marketing and communications. I've worked in the spheres of newspapers, magazines, television, radio, and now technology companies. So that's 25 years of grounding in various different spheres of marketing. And here I am now. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of CentryBay. It's an honor to lead the marketing team here. CentryBay is a leading cybersecurity company with near enough 22-year pedigree. We combat credential theft and data breach threats with our patented armored client solution. So do you want to hear a bit about this solution, Karen?
Yeah, let's hear a little bit about it, because in this day and age, Manish, I mean, it's a hot topic. So give us a snippet. Love that.
CentryBay's armored client solution provides a defensive layer that, once deployed on an endpoint, isolates and protects virtual desktop infrastructures like Windows 365 and Azure Virtual Desktop. It protects these kind of virtual environments from malware threats like keyloggers and screen capture. So Karen, keyloggers is when you're innocently typing away on your computer, but you don't realize that it's kind of infected with malware. And somewhere, maybe far away, there's a hacker who can see every keystroke you're typing in. And that's your login details, your passwords, and things like that. So that's essentially what CentryBay's armored client protects organizations from.
Wow. Okay. So now you just scared me. Okay. So nice way to start this off. No, what I recognize is how important it is. I mean, there's a lot of bad guys out there. And so we need the good guys like CentryBay to stop the bad guys before all that happens. So love hearing about that. And what a career you've had in 25 years. As you said, you've got a 25-year history of marketing communications, and you've gone everywhere from magazines all the way through to technology. So it's been, I'm sure, a learning experience the whole way, which is part of what we're going to talk about, Manish, about leadership and how continuous learning is so important. So thank you for all that. I can't wait to start chatting. All right. So let's start off with our first question. There's so many ways to define leadership, because it's so personal and it's so individual. So tell us, how do you define leadership?
Sure, Karen. I mean, that's a great question to kick off. So let me answer that in simple terms. So leadership is the action of leading a group of people or an organization. Now, that's a standard definition, right? In very simple terms. But from my personal perspective, good leadership, particularly in marketing, involves a blend of strategic vision, empathy, and kind of like the ability to inspire and guide a team towards achieving shared goals. But for this to work, it's going to require both commercial acumen and interpersonal skills. So you balance the creative and analytical thinking while driving business success.
Yeah, I love all that because there's so much involved in leadership, Manish, that is not competency based. So yes, leadership is a set of competencies, and we really have to understand what those competencies are. What else leadership is it's all that emotional intelligence. So it's the empathy. It's how do I handle communication? It's how do I handle conflict? It's about really recognizing the person that you're having the conversation with and that they are not a robot. They, in fact, are a human being. And you're going to potentially have to shift your style based on who that person is. So for me, when I talk about soft skills, to me, they are the power skills. They're going to make the difference between a good leader and a great leader.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that, Karen.
Yeah.
And it's quite topical, really, because that was one of the things that I picked upon when I did your Keep It Real leadership program a couple of years ago when I was at HG Insights. So absolutely, I put this into play on a daily basis, and you know what? It works.
Yes, it does. And I love that you learn things in the Keep It Real leadership program and are still using them. That's what I like to music to my ears, Manish. Definitely. So number two, I'm curious about the values that you have as a leader. What I always say to my listeners and to my teams that I work with and my leaders is that people will join an organization because of the values, and people will leave an organization because of the values, because it's really the North Star. It's how I as an individual will partake in the organization, how I as a leader am going to lead. So I'm curious about you. What top three leadership values that you bring to SentryBay as a leader and a chief marketing officer?
So as a leader, my top three values would be empathy, which we've just touched upon, but I'll go into greater detail, integrity, and what I call continuous growth. So I can touch upon these one by one, Karen, if you want.
Please, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So let's start with empathy. My marketing background in technology originates from startup culture. So when you're launching a new company with little or no financial backing, you can't afford to alienate people. So having empathy is key. And you know what? It's a skill that comes free of charge. Yes. Yeah, right. Yeah, people will perform tasks for money, but they're far more likely to go the extra mile if you have an understanding of them and their situation in life. So that's empathy. Understanding and valuing others' perspectives
Yeah.
is essential for fostering trust,
Yes.
building strong relationships, and it creates what I feel is an inclusive environment. So as a leader, I believe in deeply listening to team members, understanding their needs, and offering support that helps them grow personally and professionally. So you get a two-in-one hit there.
Yeah.
You're helping your people grow personally and professionally in their careers.
Yes. And I will say to you, that's where the power skill comes in, Manish. That's really what we're talking about. You talked about trust, strong relationships, influencing, listening, helping people have a career development strategy for themselves individually. That really is all about those power skills. So empathy, love that. Tell me about integrity.
Yeah, sure. So moving on to integrity. So in my experience, I've worked under many different leadership styles.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the things I've found is that leaders that do not have integrity or they do not display integrity as a core value, they often end up with underperforming teams. And these teams are constantly in conflict with each other. Even though everyone works for the same company or organization, there's animosity and rivalry between leaders. And then this behavior, it kind of trickles down the employment chain, the people chain, and everyone gets infected. So what I guess what I'm trying to say is that integrity in the form of honesty, transparency, and of course, ethical decision making are core to effective leadership. So, as chief marketing officer for a major cybersecurity company, upholding high standards and being accountable for everything I do, for my actions, This builds trust and it sets the tone for a culture of responsibility within my team and the wider company.
So as you were speaking, I'm thinking to myself, stuff runs downhill. And so
Sure.
in order,
I like that you're using the word stuff
yes,
when we both know what the word
yeah.
should be.
And I'm a New Yorker and from New Jersey, so that's not what I want to say. I can promise you that much. However, that is what I will say today for my listeners. And what's important about that and what you just indicated is, so if you're going to be honest and transparent and accountable, and that's all building trust, what happens is as teams are watching their leader, they will take on that personality, not on purpose. It just happens automatically because of the actions. Actions speak louder than words. And so people are
Exactly.
watching. And so to be able to know that and know that your leader has your back is really important to build that trust and move towards a high performing team. And I couldn't agree more. If you're not a leader of integrity, then why would your team be? And why would they be accountable? And why would they be high performing? It's going to be very complicated for them to do that unless an informal leader shows up. However, that's just the way leadership is. So yes, absolutely agree. So let's talk about that continuous growth. I had mentioned it earlier about that. So tell me what you mean by continuous growth.
So from my past as a marketing leader at, startups like Pivotal IQ, to head of global communications at, major data company like HG Insights, to my present role as CMO of SentryBay, I've always extolled continuous growth as a key value for leadership. I kind of value a mindset of learning and adaptability. And that's both for myself and the people I lead, whether through personal development or embracing new challenges or even encouraging innovation. Fostering continuous improvement ensures that we can stay ahead in a rapidly changing world. And we've seen how the world has changed very,
Yes.
very quickly through the pandemic and beyond.
Yes. And when you think about, again, stuff runs downhill, if the leader is really prioritizing that learning, that means it gives permission to the team to be able to also continue their growth and their learning. And, as you said, the world's changing all at like so fast, we can barely keep up with it. If we are not continuously learning, we're going to be left behind. And what fun would that be? You don't want to be chasing. I don't know. I always want to be in the front of the pack. That's for sure.
No, exactly. And the values that we've just spoken about, right? They're going to motivate
Yes.
people and they're going to create an environment where people feel valued, as you said, engaged, and they're going to be empowered to do their best work.
Yes.
So that's why these values are very important.
Motivated to be valued, engaged, and empowered. Love that. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So this question's a big question, even though there's not a lot of words in it. So what's the best advice you were ever given as a leader?
Wow.
I know. I know. It's
I wasn't expecting that one, but let me say this. So the best advice I've ever been given by a leader. My answer, Karen, is going to be quite contentious, but yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, right? I'm a Londoner, very similar to you. You're a New Yorker, right? So apologies in advance to any execs out there who feel aggrieved, but I'm speaking from experience here. So the best advice I've encountered from a leader is to deliver a positive outcome by proof pointing the strategy. So that's quite a mouthful. So I'll explain what I mean by that. Right. So delivering a positive outcome by proof pointing the strategy. What does this mean? So we're living and working in an era where every dollar counts. Gone are the days where a marketing leader can just gamble with hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars by employing individuals, contractors, agencies to carry out the tactical work to achieve a desired outcome. in that case, where you're spending your organization or investors' money on something that you don't really know is going to work, it's a gamble, right? You're rolling the dice. So
Yeah.
if the strategy fails, that's a lot of money down the drain. So if you look at today's C-suite environment, lots of companies are doing away with people that have my job title, Chief Marketing Officer or VP of Marketing. They're doing away with those roles. Why are these execs no longer in vogue? Because they are mostly leaders who provide the strategy and expect others to carry out the tactical work. So there's two strands there. There's the strategy, and then there's doing the work, which is the tactics.
Yeah.
But what if the strategy doesn't work? The company's lost a lot of money. Now, in the good times, before the economic downturn, leaders could afford to make costly mistakes. But we don't live in the good times right now.
Correct.
Again, we live in a time where every dollar counts. So coming back to the best advice I've ever encountered from a leader, deliver a positive outcome by proof pointing the strategy. So in my career as a marketing leader, I've always been full stack. This means I can strategize and I can execute on most of the disciplines within marketing. So I can do the strategy and the tactical. So, in my role as a full stack CMO, I'm responsible for brand building and awareness, demand gen, product marketing, company communications, and more. So as a rule, I don't expect any of my team to perform tactical duties that I cannot perform myself.
Oh.
I will provide proof of concept first to show how it's done and that the outcome will be positive. If I can't do this, then I know I'm gambling with my company's money. So, and that's never going to happen, right? It's not my money to waste.
Right.
Again, this has come from my beginnings in startup culture, where you roll your sleeves up and you get what you call stuff done.
Yeah.
We know what we mean there. But here's the kicker. When you can do the tactical as well as the strategic, your team members trust you more. You're literally walking in their shoes, right? You're not only talking the talk, you're walking the walk. So this may appear to be rigid in the way you get things done, but when you provide them with proof points, it's the best way for them to deliver the desired outcome. And then team members become adaptable and results driven. But it's a two-way street. It also encourages my team members to come up with different ways of doing things. And this tests, my proof point leadership style. In time, this encourages leaders like myself to trust my teams. After we've gone through this testing the proof point, after a while, they'll know what to do, right? So you give them the freedom to explore their own methods and not micromanage how things are done. Ultimately, delivering the positive outcome by proof pointing the strategy, it defines clear objectives and expectations, but it also allows people to leverage their strengths and creativity to reach those goals, and they're learning and growing on the way. It's easy, to come up with a strategy and then employ an agency or a contractor to deliver on the tactics, but you're gambling because you don't really know what they're going to come up with and what the outcome's going to be. You don't know if it's going to be the desired outcome. So the bonus is if team members question your strategy and tactics, it can actually lead to more effective and diverse solutions. So I feel this approach, it kind of fosters innovation, it boosts the team's morale, and it helps build a sense of ownership. Bit long-winded, but I hope you get the gist of what I was saying there.
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. So where I want to back up here. So the term full stack, I haven't heard that before our conversation. I like that whole concept because I can see it visually, Manish. And then as you're talking about proof points and you're talking about walking in your team's shoes. So where I went with that was, well, is he also willing to walk in their shoes and then allow them to build on your proof points. And you answered that question. So, which then inspires innovation, inspires creativity and
Correct.
ownership. So I'm glad that you clarified. So, okay, I can do strategy and I can do tactics. And at the end of the day, it's my team's responsibility to do it in the way that's going to be best suited for the organization.
Exactly that. You're literally showing them the way, right?
Yes.
You're
Yes.
showing them and you're giving them the confidence that this strategy is going to work. You're not testing anything because you've
Yes.
done that. And then
Yes.
you're showing them, look, this is the strategy and these are the tactics that are going to deliver the desired outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Okay, good. Yeah. Good advice. Love that. Okay. So number 4, we're going through an enormous amount of transition these days between layoffs, between the world events and the economic implications of both of those. How do you lead through transition and change?
That's a question and a half, Karen.
I know. Oh, yeah. I know. It
Oh.
sounds like I'm only asking you 6 questions, but they're there's a few parts to them.
No, I'm thrilled to give you my viewpoint. And of course, it's my viewpoint based on my experience.
Right.
So, yeah, in my experience, leading through transition, especially during times of, I would say, profound global changes like the COVID-19 pandemic and then the ensuing cultural shifts, it requires adaptability, empathy, and I would say a very strong vision.
Mm.
When the pandemic hit, it was important for me to understand that leadership was not only about guiding an organization or a team through operational changes, but it was also about supporting people emotionally, mentally, and culturally. So as a leader, I had to be flexible. So, the pandemic meant rapid changes on a daily basis. And I had to be ready to pivot strategies, adjust plans as new information emerged. And being flexible means being open to experimentation and innovation, as well as being prepared to alter course when necessary. So, in times of change, I believe you've got to lead with agility. Decision making needs to be quick, but not hasty. Got to create frameworks that allow for quick changes and responsive action rather than, having these rigid long-term strategies. Also, I found during the pandemic and, in times of change, it's important for me as a leader to communicate transparently and consistently. So, for example, during the pandemic, I saw that my people often felt anxious and uncertain. So I found being open, transparent with them was key to, getting their trust and maintaining that trust. Be honest with your people about the challenges and offer them regular updates on what's happening, even if the full picture isn't clear yet. And again, during the pandemic, we didn't know how that was going to end, but
No,
you had to be positive.
exactly.
So the pandemic, it brought about heightened stress, isolation. A lot of people felt scared.
Mhm.
And as leaders, I felt, we should be showing empathy and compassion. And that's for the emotional toll that the change was taking on people. So, recognizing personal struggles, validating your people's emotions is very key, rather than ignoring or downplaying them. Anyone can say, oh, yeah, pull your socks up and just get on with it. You
Right.
can't do that
Right.
in a time of profound change. And transitions often feel unsettling because the future is uncertain. So, as leaders, we can help reduce this fear by painting a picture of the future that's grounded in hope and possibility. I like to say, articulate the why behind changes and transitions and give people that sense of purpose, that we're going to overcome these short term challenges. Well, during the pandemic, it gives leaders a chance to set the tone for how their teams should respond to crisis and transitions. If you as a leader remain calm and focused and positive, touched upon what you said before, Karen, if you set that tone of calmness and you're focused and positive, your team's far more likely to mirror that attitude. So lead with resilience, confidence, even when faced with ambiguity. And one other thing I'd touch upon in times of change, celebrate the small wins.
Yes.
You know, you got to recognize progress, even if it's small. This is going to maintain morale. It reminds people that despite challenges, forward movement and progression is happening. The organization is set on the right path. I mean, I've said a lot here, but to summarize, leaders who are agile, who communicate clearly, who can guide their teams with compassion while embracing change, I think they're the ones that are best positioned to help their organizations and their people thrive. So by maintaining a forward-thinking mindset, cultivating resilience, a can-do attitude, we as leaders can turn periods of change and transition into opportunities for transformation and growth. So I've said a lot there.
You have said a lot, and it's great because what it's doing is I feel like we have a theme here, Manish, in terms of how you are describing your leadership style. And as we're talking about, what is leadership? How do we define it? It goes back to our EQ. It goes back to, are we paying attention to those power skills? You're using words like adaptability, compassion. You talked about emotions. So, and how scared and stressed people are during transition, whether it's COVID-19 or there's going to be a restructure in an organization. At the end of the day, everybody's like, what about me? What about me? And that's who they care about. So to know that their leader is calm, then they can watch for those signals. And the other thing I just really want to emphasize here is terms of communication is it has to be transparent, it has to be open, and it has to be often. And the more that we can talk to our people during transition and shifts and changes, the more likely they will trust us. We'll tell them as much as we can from a transparency perspective, and it has to be very often. And the messaging has to be very succinct and similar. I mean, we can't say we're going down this road and then a week later, no, we're taking a turn and we're going down this road. Oh, by the way, we're going down this road. Those are things that the leader does not have to communicate so early on. They have to communicate what's going to impact me, because that's all I care about during transition. And it is a scary, stressful time. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great. Good. Thank you. Okay. So number 5, we know the best leaders are curious and always learning. So, and you've talked about your continuous growth and how important it is for your team to also be doing continuous growth. So what are some tools or resources that you use or go to? What's your go-to resources to make sure that you're continuing to grow?
Great question again, Karen. So one of my go-to resources is myself, right? You've known me for a long time, and one of the things I like to do is talk. I can talk for hours. I love meeting people, getting to know what makes them tick. And, you can just learn a lot by meeting and speaking with people. Honestly. So every day is a learning opportunity for me on my way to the office. If I'm going out shopping, if I'm filling up at the gas station, if I see people and they're open to it, I'm going to have a discussion. So I love doing that. I mean, it goes back to my childhood when my teachers used to call me a chatterbox. But yeah, but for my growth professionally as well, look, Karen, I'm always doing online courses and MOOCs from edX and FutureLearn, your own course, the Keep It Real leadership course. That was a great program to do too. I don't only do these courses to learn and grow. I kind of do them to also validate what I already know. So, I want to feel that the kind of leadership style I have, my strategies, my tactics, they're all underpinned by what I've learned before. And if they're not, doing these courses gives me a chance to fix that. Also, in today's rapidly evolving business landscape, it's crucial for leaders especially marketing leaders like myself, to continuously update their skills, because we have to remain competent and relevant, right? We're in the era of AI where literally the doom mongers are saying anyone's going to be replaced by AI, anyone can get it. But that's not necessarily the case. Okay. The marketing field at the moment, it's heavily influenced by technological advancements, from AI powered tools, as I've discussed, automation, data analytics, to new social media platforms and search engine algorithms. Marketing is constantly evolving. So, online courses provide me with an opportunity to learn the latest tools and techniques that are shaping my field, ensuring I stay ahead of trends and I can pass this knowledge down to my people. And it comes back to what I said earlier. I would never give someone a task that I could not do. Therefore, it's incumbent on me to stay relevant by continually learning and adapting. And Karen, in my experience, leaders who regularly update their knowledge through in-person or online courses, they can help their organizations innovate and stay competitive. It kind of helps to prevent your company from falling behind, especially in a fast-moving industry. For example, I'm in cybersecurity, and it moves fast. You've got to stay ahead, right? And as a marketing leader, if I can leverage learnings from courses to introduce new ideas, campaign strategies, creative solutions, then it drives innovation and growth for my organization. Also,
Yeah.
Karen, it kind of sets an example for my teams by demonstrating that learning and upskilling, they're ongoing. They're not static. Okay. You're continuously learning.
Yes. Yes. And your point about being very adaptable and incredibly flexible. So as you continue to learn, you might have to adapt some of those strategic visions. You might have to flex in terms of rigid planning and make sure, okay, we've got this goal set up based on this vision. Maybe we need to shift it a little bit because of the trends coming, because of the new technologies coming down the road. If you don't know those and continue to learn about those, then you're going to be left behind. And in your industry, as you said, cybersecurity, please, I'm begging you, let's stay 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of the bad guys. So I love that.
Exactly. You don't want those hackers to get you. So
Uh,
please, everyone, pray for me. Pray that I continually do these courses.
Exactly. All righty. So we got one question left. What piece of art or music or literature or whatever else keeps you balanced and brings you joy, with joy being the operative word? Because in leadership, if we don't bring joy to the workplace, then I don't want to work for you. So what brings you joy that you can bring to the workplace?
Great question again, Karen. You're
I'm
bringing the
nailing
fire here. Yeah, you're bringing it. I mean, look, I'm very blessed to live in the English countryside. So going for long walks and observing nature keeps me balanced.
I bet.
Yeah. There's nothing better than to unwind after a hard day at work by going for a leisurely walk through green fields and woods with nothing but the call of birds to keep you company. So I walk daily, first thing in the morning and in the evening, when I switch off from the day to day. And I feel that's a kind of joy I bring to my team because I encourage them to do the same.
Yeah.
I'm always encouraging my people to take time out. Not everything is to do with work. When you need to, take time out, switch off. And one of the best things you can do is go for a walk away from the traffic, away from, the urban landscape. We're lucky in England, nobody's far from the countryside. It's a train ride away, right? You can literally, from the center of London, the countryside is half an hour to 45 minutes away, whether it's the countryside or the beach. All right. There is an escape where you can just focus on yourself. And you know what? When you escape the urban landscape and the traffic and the industrial noise and pollution, you heal. Honestly, there's nothing like walking barefoot on green grass. If you look it up, there's a term for it. It's called grounding.
Ah,
And yeah, it's meant to kind of signify, the earth is kind of replenishing you, right? It's absorbing the negativities and it's giving you back all the positivities. And I like doing that. And I encourage people to do that.
nice.
So that's a joy for me. You touched upon culture, music. I'm a avid movie geek.
Mm.
And yeah, I love watching and rewatching films by the great Italian and Italian American directors like Sergio Leone, Francis Ford Coppola, Brian De Palma, Martin Scorsese, everyone knows. I also watch any films directed by or starring Clint Eastwood. He's been yeah, right. He's been my movie idol ever since my late father, let me stay up to watch A Fistful of Dollars, one of his spaghetti
Ooh.
westerns. Yeah, it's always stayed with me, right? One of the films that my dad let me stay up late to watch, and it starred Clint Eastwood, and that's always been imprinted in my
Oh,
mind. And I guess it's a comfort thing for me, right?
yeah.
It may seem strange, but when I see Clint Eastwood on the screen, I get comforted because it reminds me of my father.
Yeah.
So that
Oh,
it's yeah, it brings me joy. So ever since then, I'll watch and rewatch any Eastwood film at any given opportunity.
that's great.
His I think his legacy of work is amazing. But you know what? Coming from startup culture, you can pick up a lot of marketing strategies from films.
Oh,
I'm 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 telling you, right? For example, right, mafia films, they offer surprising marketing insights, particularly around loyalty, power, strategic planning. And in these mob films, that the leaders, they have these strong networks and they build them by fostering trust and rewarding loyalty, similar to how technology brands cultivate customer relationships. And in these films, the protagonists, they often have a clear vision.
yes, they
And
do.
yeah, yeah, they play the long game, right? And they're focusing on their calculated risks. They anticipate challenges and how to deal with them. And that's also key in marketing strategy.
Of
But
course.
hold on, back to Clint Eastwood. His characters also, they often protect their reputations fiercely. So on screen, right? You've Clint Eastwood's always protecting his reputation. And that's a reminder for companies, right, to manage their image carefully and act decisively, particularly in crisis management. So that's
Yeah.
that's my take on culture.
I love it. And well, to think Clint Eastwood, of course, he's a leader, say no more. And, it goes back to you continually growing, that you're watching movies and you're picking up tips and tricks on, wow, this is really a great way to look at you and your marketing, vision and team, and what can you learn from them. So that's great. So wowie zowie is what I have to say. Manish, thank you. Thank you so much for all your insight and thoughts. I love talking about walking outside. And I just read an article about the importance of using all five senses when you're to really pay attention and don't have your headset on and really feel the nature. So I love that. Clint Eastwood, how could I not love that? A nice US man who is a great actor. So thank you for your inspiring conversation.
Well, Karen, thank you for having me. We've covered so much here. And, one thing I forgot to mention is we're recording this on October the 1st, and October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
Oh,
So,
perfect.
yeah, so this podcast has been a perfect vehicle, right, to tell people about cybersecurity, and we've touched upon that, but also, why it's important to keep your computers and your company networks secure. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Keep those bad guys away from us. All right. Can you promise us that?
100%. And if anyone wants to talk further, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just search Manish Patel, SentryBay. You'll find me on LinkedIn. Happy to connect and happy to have a conversation about cybersecurity.
So, everybody, I want to say thanks for listening. I'm Karen Colligan, and you've been listening to Manish Patel, the Chief Marketing Officer at SentryBay. If this leadership podcast was of interest to you, go to our YouTube channel, People Think SF, and look at all the other distinguished leaders I've had the pleasure of interviewing. You'll learn so much about the uniqueness of leadership. I know I have. And don't forget to share with your colleagues. Till the next episode of the Let's Talk Leadership podcast, have a good one, and don't forget to keep it real. Editing by Mary Lee Williams. Have a good one, everybody. Bye now.